what should have happened was Kevin come out and say, hey, man, like,
That's it.
like, this is it. Like, so let's do this, or this isn't it. You know what I'm saying? But you can't just leave the elephant in the room. And because what happened was the question came to us every day. Like, every time we spoke to the media, Clay and myself was asked about our contract. And it was strictly due to Kevin, you know, because while that was going on, you kind of had Kevin like, I don't know what I'm gonna do next year. Like, and it don't matter, but it does matter because you're not the only person that has to answer that question. And to be quite frank with you, you're honestly the last person that has to answer the question because you don't really say, like, you don't say much to the media. If anything, you tell them to shut the up. Well, I don't tell them to shut the up. I kind of have a conversation. And so I'm stuck answering that question all the time. And due to that, there was always an elephant in the room amongst us, as opposed to with them, they didn't have that elephant.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into First Take on a Tuesday. I'm Laura Rutledge, filling in for Molly. We got Stephen A., we got Max, we got Jay Will with us right off the top, so let's get right into it. Starting with you, Stephen A., you just heard Draymond talking about KD. Does he have a point?
I thought he did have a point in regards to KD, only from the standpoint that when he talked about everybody having to answer questions pertaining to their own future, obviously, KD's contract situation definitely dictated that to some degree. When you look at the Warriors, they were a juggernaut. They were a dynasty in our face. And Kevin Durant was obviously an incredibly essential part of all of that. He busted onto the scene. He immediately won 2 championships back-to-back. He averaged over 26 points per game both seasons. He was clearly the best player on the best team with the greatest shooting backcourt we had ever seen and the greatest shooter we had ever seen in our lifetime in Steph Curry. And still, Kevin Durant was the best player on the team and one of the top 2 players on the planet as far as I'm concerned. So when he is contemplating free agency and contemplating the thought of departing from the Golden State Warriors to take his services elsewhere, ultimately that generated a discussion that entailed, okay, what are the Golden State Warriors going to do from here? We know that Steph is going to stay. Quite likely, Klay Thompson is going to stay. But what does that mean for Draymond Green, whose contract was up a year later? What did it mean for the direction that the Golden State Warriors were going to go in? It's one thing to say we're going to keep this crew together because Kevin Durant is there along with Klay and Steph. But Kevin Durant's departure obviously was going to generate discussions about the future of others as well. And because of that, that put them in a position where they were constantly not only having to answer questions about their own contract situation, but ultimately about what Kevin Durant was contemplating, what kind of effect it was going to have on the team, et cetera, et cetera. And it was only exacerbated when Kevin Durant and Draymond Green got into it on the bench at that Clippers game when it went into overtime, and Draymond Green said some stuff that obviously was a bit excessive, clearly hurt Kevin Durant to some degree, to the point where Draymond Green didn't even realize it until, he said, damn, this brother's hurt by what I said and what have you. And so all of those things were a byproduct of Kevin Durant, what's he going to do, and that's where Draymond Green has a point.
Normally, I would have a problem with Draymond Green saying something like this. Why talk about another man's business? Kevin Durant chose you guys and brought you to unprecedented dominance, at least since the Bulls dynasty. And so why are you still talking about him? In this case, I make an exception. I get it. I get what Draymond Green is saying, because really what it points out is Durant was a mercenary. When you talk to the other guys on the team, Steph, Klay, and Dre, as Draymond mentioned, they were all in kind of on a going forward basis because they'd all been there the entire time. They were drafted by the team. They were cultivated by the team. They bonded together as a team and brought this thing to the place where KD looked at them and said, yup, I want to play with those guys. But KD was the mercenary. KD was the guy who joined the 73-win team, not the guy who helped them to 73 wins. Now, he put them not just a little over the top, way over the top, to the point where they really couldn't be beaten. And so I get it if someone's like, yeah, but Dre, that's his decision. He brought you guys 2 championships. Like, you want to figure they would have gone 1-1 in those 2 titles. Maybe at least KD was a premium of an extra championship, probably at least. But, so now he can move on. But Draymond is saying, we built this thing together. We came up together. This was the guy who didn't. So he comes and he does all these things for us. But when he's asked about the future, he's not as invested in us, as we are. And because that is illuminating and honest, I liked it.